see the color running through your veins, and I can't breathe when everything you do is pain. Oh, I can't see the color running through your veins, and I can't breathe when everything you do is pain. Love me. Stop the time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment, make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Stop the time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment, make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it go away?
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it. Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to the final round of the first season of the NEVO TCR Series here from the wonderful circuit Zolder, an absolute hidden gem, almost anyway, in the heart of Belgium. This very narrow, twisty and aggressive circuit really does bring out the most precise driving from all of our competitors. We're going to have quite the interesting night of it tonight, despite having a bit of a smaller grid, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hello everyone, Chaz Draycott here in the commentary box, and alongside me once more for the final time this season I have the wonderful Ed May. And Ed, we've both commentated a lot at this circuit, to be fair, and we've both covered our fair share of the 24 hours, the virtual bell car 24 hours here at Zolder, but touring cars, it's not something I've seen around here very often. What about you?
No, I have to say I'm in the same boat. I remember there was a many moons ago now with the Simracersworld Touring Car Series that I think had a couple of rounds here in seasons gone by. So if some drivers were around then, they might be able to recognise it and maybe take that experience forwards. But like you say, Chaz, it's one that's hasn't really been used too much and is actually rather underutilised in the sort of terms of iRacing officials. So it's one that the drivers will really need to be able to put the laps in this practice session now to hopefully be in the best stead come qualifying and the two races tonight.
Yes, indeed. They really need to have their wits about them, that is for sure. We're just going to take a quick look at the championship standings coming into this final one. Taya Flatten, well, he's already had it wrapped up for quite a while now in the pro standings, and it's Nick Clibbens that's moved up to second place. He had a strong meeting at Red Bull Ring last time out. Eystein Herfjord hasn't done a massive amount of race meetings, but he's right up there as well in third place. 1 point ahead now of Preben Vala. But we, by the look of it, do not have Preben here tonight either. So Eystein is basically up against Nick Clibbens, but with quite the gap between the two of them, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to close that down. Further down the order, Ben Gregory's in 7th place. He's had some great recovery drives. He's only got a couple of points over Ben Hicks and then Will Redford. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out after this evening. Looking then at the AM Championship standings, well, this is still wide open, really. Martin Shirley on 160 points leading the way. And, well, he's extended that gap after a very strong meeting at the Red Bull Ring. Jose Scully not having the best of times. It was a very up and down night for him as well. But in there, in the mix, we've got Mark Redford and Reese Watt. He's had a fantastic turnaround in this championship. So I'm excited to see who can battle for those positions there. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be just down to one strong race to start the night for Martin Shirley. Looking then, finally, at the Teams Championship standings, Ignium Motorsport at the top on 333 points are pretty much the top dogs. iRace Esports on 264, way clear of Simtech Racing. Pro Alloys Racing only becoming a team a few meetings ago thanks to the arrival of Will Redford into the championship to partner up with his father Mark. They're just ahead of JW Motorsport, just behind. And well, Ed, we've got a beautiful scene in front of us here at Zolder, but the main talking point tonight is going to be how these touring cars handle the curbs, isn't it? Because it is a really, really tricky place to be.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, let's put it that way. I remember actually there was a reason why we didn't, I think in the first season of the Simracersworld TCR sort of the season that was a trial run before it was broadcasted, actually avoided going to Zolder. It was on the calendar, but then after a few times in practice, the first chicane, I think it's called the Kleiner chicane, going through there was a bit where the cars were sort of too low and they'd actually hit a bump somewhere in the chicane at the rear end, and that would send them skywards. So I think that's been something that's dialed out now of these cars, so we can go racing here. But before, it was one that was, well, you couldn't actually race a TCR car here.
Very true indeed. Now we've got Hack on Ask having a little bit of a excursion there. Will Redford currently fastest though, but only by 14 thousandths of a second over Taya Flatten. Shows you just how close it is between those top two of the real talents of the series. It was great to see Will a couple of race meetings ago become the only driver this season to beat Taya on the road when he's turned up, and it's just been one hell of a championship by the double champion now in his gold Ignium Motorsport Hyundai Veloster. Looking very tasty indeed. He's just on the back of Reese Watt here, down the inside of car 132 into the final corner. And you can see on the left-hand side there are, of course, the white and blue strips, which designate which class each car is in there. At the top, the dark blue ones are the AM drivers, the white ones are the pros. And to be fair, towards the latter end of this season, Ed, we've seen actually quite a close mix between the two, haven't we? It's not been all pros at the front and all AMs at the back. They've sort of mingled a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to look at Martin Shirley, who's currently third fastest overall. He's an AM driver, and if you look at the lap times at the top there, less than half a second off at the pace of Will Redford. That is a very quick lap time around here.
Is indeed. He's done a fantastic job so far. Of course, this is just practice. Now, you can see on the left-hand side there, thanks to the help of the wonderful guys that sort out our overlay at SDK Gaming. They're the ones that provide the platform, at least, for us to modify and edit these overlays to make them look how we want, and of course bring you the wonderful broadcasts that we can. I've been given a way of actually having the timer count down, which I much prefer compared to having the timer tick up, so we don't have to show sort of 59.5 minutes out of 1 hour. That just shows you how much time is left in the session. Again, it's all down to personal preference, but as a broadcaster, you know, I think I like to know rather how many minutes are left rather than how many minutes have gone, essentially. When it comes down to laps, yeah, definitely. If you're doing, 25 laps and you're up to 20 laps, I want to know how many laps we've done. It's depends on the sort of session you've got, I guess. But Taya Flatten, with only 2 3/4 minutes left to go, is trying to beat Will Redford's time and get the most out of it as we go on board now with this gorgeous sounding Veloster. It's one thing that we've touched on a few times this season, Ed, but not too much really. It's the fact that iRacing have got the rasp of these TCR cars absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and I think you have to say that this Veloster is probably the raspiest of the bunch. I mean, I do love the sound of the Civic Type R, but this Veloster is certainly no quiet beast, is she? Near it into turn 1 as well. The sounds that iRacing have over the curbs, they're just little things to allow a bit more immersion.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to have the proper sounds, that give you that sort of same reaction as they would in the real world. Here's Mark Redford for Pro Alloys Racing. He's just taking his time around the final hairpin. Some fantastic corner names here at Zolder as well. A lot of them similar in a way to Zandvoort. A lot of them are called Bocht. And we've got, obviously meaning turn, we've got the Sterenvacht Bocht, Canal Bocht, Lucien Bianchi Bocht, Kleiner Chicane, Sacrament Schelling, which is the little rise over the hill, Butt, which is the left-hander, Villeneuve Chicane, Turleman Bocht, and we've got the Boulderberg Bocht, which is that hairpin at the end of the lap. That's one of my absolute favourites, the Boulderberg Bocht. Fantastic roll-off-the-tongue sort of corner name. And then the final corner, which is the chicane, is the Jackie X Bocht. So we've got plenty of tongue twisters. And Jakob's saying that I've talked about the noise on the Civic in every single race meeting. Well, yeah, the Civic in the real world and in the sim is the loudest of the lot. It's like there's no noise restrictor on the Civic. It's an unbelievably loud race car. And
it's a proper Halford's car parks job, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Typical Honda. It's just raspy as you like. And it's a powerful car as well. I mean, it's not always been the fastest in a straight line here on iRacing, but in the real world, even in older forms of touring car racing, Hondas are always known for their power and their straight line speed. And it's interesting to see that due to balance of performance in current formats of racing, that's not always the case. We're going to empty the overlay now, though, so we've only got a couple of seconds left of the session. It's looking like Will Redford is going to be the man on top, as all 13 cars that we have out there tonight make their way around to complete the session. We've got Martin Kenyon for the Yorkshire T-Sports team just coming into the Boulderberg Bocht now, and then the little sort of left-right chicane that's not really a chicane is the Jochen Rindt Bocht. And then he heads down towards the final corner. Hello everybody in the YouTube chat, Twitch and Facebook, wherever you may be, all over this wonderful internet that we have. Brian Loins and Jalbrillo Garcia also on the Twitch chat. I can see you there. Hope you're all having a wonderful night and looking forward to some strong and action-packed touring car racing. There goes Martin Kenyon across the line, and he will disappear right now. And then we're going to get into the final qualifying session of the season here, Ed. And based on how close the top two were, is there any prediction that you could make at this point, or is it just down to seeing what these guys have got in the tank?
I mean, it's so close together. If you were going to put money on it, you might as well be throwing it down the drain. There's no way to be certain of who's going to come out on top there between Taya Flatten and, of course, Will Redford. Those drivers separated by the thinnest of margins possible. And, I mean, in qualifying, they don't have the hour to set those lap times. They've got, well, only 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes is ticking down, as you can see. For all intents and purposes, as soon as they get up to the line, they will probably only have about 9-8 minutes or so to properly set a lap time. And of course, in these TCR cars, you really only want to be setting them well, pretty much immediately out of the box, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to be sort of messing about and worrying about tyre temperatures later on in the session. You want to just get these tyres up to the optimum temperature as soon as possible, and that's why everybody's weaving here but not breaking the slipstream and not sort of opening up any clear space around themselves. They're all just going to try and rag these tyres as much as they can in the opening laps, get the heat in, especially in the front end, and then just maybe get a bit of temperature in the rear to keep it nice and stable, and then they're going to push it round and round and round to just keep the laps coming in, because at the end of the day you've not got time to go into the pits and then come back out again. We've seen a couple of mistakes from drivers so far this season in quali though, where they put it in the wall and then of course lost a lot of time over the course of the session. But Will Redford, he's going to be the first car to make his way to the final corner by the look of it, and that right there with him is Martin Shirley for SimTech Racing. That's important for the AM Championship, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Martin Shirley just knows exactly what he needs to do to round out the championship, and that is essentially finish both races, and he will be able to score enough points to secure this AM Championship, if I'm not mistaken here, Chaz. Watching Will Redford, though, and I mean, qualifying around here is going to be crucial. I think Taya Flutton is in the best possible position as Will Redford overcooks it into turn 1 immediately.
And he stops on the inside as well and waits at the side of the road, so he knows that he's now got to wait and get back into the pack. We'll go on board with double champion now, Taya Flatten. You can see the lap times coming in at the bottom. The black lines that will sort of fill up along the bottom are how far they are through each sector. It will go green if they do their personal best. It will go yellow if it's not an improvement, and it will go purple, or magenta as it's known on the overlay, if they are the fastest there. Keep our eye on it though and just see exactly how this works. And Taya Flatten is backed in out of this lap time, so Martin Shirley carries on, but Taya is out of the way. Will Redford is also out of the way. We've got Ben Hicks coming over the horizon there in the Hyundai Veloster as well. This is the Ignium Motorsport Spark machine into the Villeneuve chicane. It's interesting how much curb you can use there and get away with, isn't it, Ed? Because you can put all 4 wheels over the white line and it should be all right most of the time.
Yeah, but it is an easy one to just overstep the mark a little bit too much, especially on the second part of the chicane, when you try and open out the corner as much as possible, take a shallow line through to essentially stay as far to the left-hand side of the circuit as possible to open up that double right-hander that soon follows. It's easily done to just stray a little bit too far to the left and get yourself a slowdown penalty or a 1x, as would be the case in this qualifying session, to invalidate your lap time. Not many drivers actually setting through valid lap times. I think of this sort of pack that we've been watching, they've all had dramas at some point on the lap and haven't been able to set a time, aside from the one right at the back, and that is Nick Clibbins, the first driver to set a valid lap time, going on to provisional pole.
And Reese Watt goes fastest in the AM class to begin with as well, so he goes straight to the top. But Ian Manners then dispatches of him by a couple of seconds as well. Ben Gregory goes up to 4th fastest. Eystein Herfjord has gone 2nd for 5-Star Motorsport. Let's see who else is due to complete a lap anytime soon. Martin Kenyon is a little bit further off the pack here, so he's given himself plenty of clear space on the circuit. But look at that, by the time they've done a fast lap already, Ed, we're nearly, well, it's 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. We're nearly halfway through the session.
Yeah, it's nothing like the Red Bull Ring variant that we had last time out. What was sort of what I would refer to as the club layout, the much shorter variant that cuts out basically half of the lap, where you could get lap times in basically under a minute. Around here it is 1 minute 37 is likely going to be the quick time, so Robin's effort probably won't stand for too much longer when we see that front pack start to put in their lap times. Martin Kenyon goes 7th fastest. I think that was just more of a sightseeing lap than anything else by the Yorkshire T-Sports driver. Clemens is going to be enjoying this though, being on provisional pole, and he knows that it's easy to pick up an off track. It's more about setting a valid lap time rather than a quick one around here, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a few circuits around this sort of calendar that's been the main point, really, is surviving the qualifying sessions and getting clean laps on the board. As Will Redford goes fastest, Ben Hicks goes 2nd. Nick Clibbins moves back up into 2nd place, mere thousandths of a second between them. Eystein Herfjord improves again, 54 thousandths off. Reese Watt now goes up into 30, and Manners goes up to 6th. And the stream of lap times continue to come in. But right now, everybody's just trying to maybe get a banker lap on the board where they push the limits a little bit on the curbs and then start to really open the taps. And look at those big aggressive curbs there on the exit of turn 2. The right-hander down at Sterrenwacht Bocht. There's these massive lumpy curbs on the outside, and they are horrible old things to hit. And to be honest, I don't know about you, Ed, I've hit them in a GT car before on another sim, and even then it was terrifying. But in iRacing, we know that it can very easily jolt the wheel quite a lot, can't it?
Yeah, I remember hitting those in a GT4 car in the Simracer Magazine GT4 series, which is beginning next week here on Chaz Draycott Media. I know
So
it creeps up on you, Chaz. We are very excited for that. That's going to be one that we hope you'll be tuning into when the action finishes in the NEVO TCR Series this week. It's all go, isn't it, Chaz? We get into the sort of winter phase of the season where real-life motorsport has taken a bit of a back seat. Obviously, the weather's not great outside, so why not get nice and warm inside, get behind the wheel of a sim, so to speak, and get up and running. As we see Will Redford, who's currently still topping the timing sheets, but he's going to be coming through for another lap soon enough. Same with Øystein Herfjord. They're all in that pack up together. Redford was decently quick in some of the sectors, but I think had an invalidation somewhere. As Terje Flatten takes great advantage of that and puts the lap time, there you go, into the 37s, what we said would likely be pole position lap time worthy. Terje Flatten now best of the bunch.
Yeah, lovely job that is by Terje Flatten, and it's exactly what we'd expect. I wanted to just keep my eye on Ben Gregory for a moment and just see what his times were like and see if there was any sort of sign of the car misbehaving itself, because Ben's always started a little bit further down the order but always had these amazing recovery drives where he makes his way through. It's been very entertaining to watch, but just wanted to see if there was anything that stood out really with Ben's qualifying and whether it looked scrappy or whether it looked like he was pushing a bit too hard. I think Sam Smith has just had an issue in the pit lane. He got going and then stopped again. He's not on the timing screen yet because he's not set a valid lap time. But we look here at Reece Watt, and he's on his way to be on pole position in the AM class, only just ahead of Martin Shirley. Less than a tenth of a second between the two, exactly 700ths of a second actually. So it's nice and close there. Got some green sectors coming in from Mark Redford, even more of them coming in from Terje Flatten. So it's looking like he's going to improve again. I'm not quite sure how that can be more personal bests, but not the fastest session sector, really. But this is just what Terje does. He flies under the radar in a lot of different ways. The rear toe on that car looks remarkable. It looks like there's almost no camber on the back end of that thing. You could see the rear wheel sticking out, almost like it was broken when it comes towards you. He goes across the line now with a minute and a half left in the session. What time does he do? 37.917 to beat. And it's a 37.758. Fantastic lap time that by Terje Flatten. And once again, we didn't have any purple sectors showing up on the board for a moment there, did we?
No, it wasn't. That was very strange, but I could see on the sort of the timing software that we have that's basically on our second monitors, we can see that there were a few purple sectors creeping in there from Terje Flatten. Øystein Herfjord had a purple sector in the midway phase of a lap through sector 3. There are 5 sectors here at Zolder, not like in Formula 1 where they split a lap up into sort of thirds. For some reason, iRacing depends on, I guess, the length of the track, but it can split it into thirds or even halves at some points. But most of the time, there's about 5 sectors.
Yeah, there is indeed. I'm just having a quick look now, just to see, for the life of me, where I want to try and get to it by the end of the season, but I just wanted to try and find where the flipping setting was for the colours, because I've got it right. I've got it on magenta for the overall fastest lap time, but for some reason all season we've not had purple sectors coming up, have we? And it's just, it's so frustrating.
I think we've occasionally had them in Formula 1.
Yeah, it's worked in Formula 1. I think it's just something on this, what we call the project file here on SDK, which is the timing software we're using and the overlay. Basically, I've mucked up somewhere, but the session is over. Someone goes biff into the wall by the sound of it. But it is going to be Terje Flatten on pole position. The graphics have an absolute fit, but we are going to get this race underway. Terje Flatten then takes the final qualifying pole position of the season anyway, alongside his countryman Øystein Herfjord. Ben Hicks will start on row 2 alongside Ben Gregory. Will Redford in 5th place will start alongside Reece Watt on row 3. Then we have Martin Shirley looking to take the AM Championship in this race. Nick Clibbins starts 8th. Then it's Ian Manners and Mark Redford on row 5. Martin Kenyon lines up 11th. ahead of Hakon Ask, and Sam Smith will hopefully start the race from the back of the grid anyway. So Ed, you know the question by now. Matthew Crisp got fed up of me asking this. The timer at the top has started, but the race has not started yet, of course. That will start to tick down again shortly. Can anybody do enough about Taya Flaten? Can Eystein Herfjord finally have a clean and damage-free race meeting?
I mean, if Will Redford had a better qualifying, I would have said, yeah, Will Redford. But it's so difficult to overtake around this circuit, and being down in 5th place at the beginning of the race is definitely not where you want to be. So I think Taya Flaten has got a good chance in this first race, but maybe in the second, we might see him struggle.
Well, certainly the reverse grid is an interesting prospect around here. It's difficult to overtake. Drivers have to be very careful and take their time, as we now do have Sam Smith over at the back of the grid. He's all the way back there in the iRace Esports machine. He's got his teammate Nick Clibbins just there in the middle of the field. Not the best qualifying for them. Eystein Herfjord pops up at the front of the grid in what looks like a new livery in the 5-star motorsport machine. But for the penultimate round of the NEVO TCR Series from Zolder, the lights come on and we're away very quickly. The lights go off and Eystein Herfjord once again disappearing off up the road. Amazing stuff by him, and he's in a geodesic livery. I know he is a geodesic driver. Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing it was when he was last sort of updating his info for it. It's often how it works here at Zolder, and he's got the job done. Overlap is completely negated, and Eystein Herfjord takes the lead of the race. We've got Will Redford now from 5th on the grid, moving ahead of Ben Gregory. He's got Ben Hicks right in front of him, and he needs to be very careful on the way down to the chicane. In terms of the AMs, it's still Reese Watt leading the way. As Will's all over the grass on the left-hand side. Go on board with a very lively Honda Civic right now. I'm expecting a send here into the chicane, although he tries to go later and later on the brakes than Ben Hicks, but he manages to back it up just nicely to not make contact. Looking a bit further through, we've got Reese Watt there in 6th position in the Civic, and he's actually got quite the gap over Mark Redford and Martin Shirley. Mark's gained 3 places off the start, but I think they were all just at the chicane there as he's been off the road.
He just had to give back a couple of places there, I think, Mark Redford, after a very good start to the race. Let's have a look here in towards the chicane.
Oh yeah, he's missed his braking point. Whoa, that was close to Reese Watt.
Bench everyone.
Oh my goodness me, how he did not hit anything there, I do not know. Taya Flaten's got the lead back, by the way. He's done it again under the radar, but I think he might have been down into the
Ben Gregory went for it up the inside. I just thought for a second he was going to have contact with Very Weird, but they kept going. Let's have a look at the overtake now. Oh, that was
tasty.
Last of the late breakers there up the inside.
Oh, and Ben Hicks got sideways at the Boulderberg box. Will Redford got through, but he had a compromise line on the exit, and I'm not sure Ben Gregory... Well, he hasn't made the move stick, I can tell you that. Whoa! Bit of a tap with Ben Hicks, and then he's late on the brakes. Managed to get it stopped, though. But only just. Scary moment there, but Taya Flaten back into the lead now. Will Redford relinquished in 3rd, and Reese Watt is ahead of Martin Shirley. But now, with Jose Scully not being here for this race, it's pretty much Martin Shirley just needs to finish here, doesn't he, to get this one. You get 20 points for winning your class in this championship, and then 15 points for 2nd place. So as long as Martin finishes this race and scores just some points in general, he has won the AM Championship, and it's all wrapped up as Reese Watt's off.
Sliding off. Oh no, and that's going to give Martin Shirley the gift of the AM class lead. But that's what happens through the chicane. I think he might just have hit the rear end of the car on that right-hand bump. I'll have a look. Oh yeah, it just digs in and loops him round, and he tries to get his foot flat to the floor to use those front tyres to scrape him out of danger, but sadly the momentum was always going to carry him in towards the Armco.
That was a big old hit as well for the Honda Civic, so I'm not sure how that's going to behave after that, but he's going to be very disappointed with making that mistake. But that's the thing, it's all about judgment in these chicanes and on a circuit like this, and it's very tough to get it right lap after lap. This is looking back slightly at Ben's squadron. This is Ben Hicks chasing down Ben Gregory. The two of them right together as they come out of the Jackie Hicks box once more. Across the start-finish line here at Zolder to complete lap 3. 21.5 minutes left on the clock. And this is looking like it's shaping up to be a strong battle. They've had a good scrap before of these pair. Ben Gregory's often been chasing down a lot of the iRace Esports and Ignium Motorsport cars. He's certainly one of the best of the rest drivers in this championship, is Ben. But he actually put in quite a solid qualifying performance in the end, didn't he, at that point, Ed? He sort of proved me wrong and showed that it's not always about the recovery drives for Mr. Gregory.
Yeah, it's one of the rare times where he has actually had a good qualifying. I don't think he'd mind us saying that, but he's going to be wanting to keep that good race pace that he's had all season long, going strong into the final couple of races of the season. And with this Ignium Spark car breathing down his neck, it's certainly easier said than done, but Ben manages to stay ahead of Ben for the moment. But will Ben be able to stay there?
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, not with a corner like that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just about getting it under control.
Suboptimal. Absolutely suboptimal. But that's the thing. When you're under pressure like that, you do push that little bit harder, as Will Redford's gone down the inside of Eystein Herfjord into the Boulderberg Bocht, and through he goes. So already up into second position goes Will Redford, and now he's going to go chasing down Taya Flaten, or at least he's going to hope to, if Eystein Herfjord does not muck it up for him, because Eystein, we both know, is very, very fast indeed, and he loves a good old scrap as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, with a good exit out of the final corner. He'll be there or thereabouts in towards turn one, but I think he gave up that position. He didn't fight it at all in the inside and towards the Boulderberg Bocht. And I think he realises that the best chance that Eystein Herfjord has of maybe even winning this race is to basically get Will Redford and Taya Flaten scrapping away.
Yeah, that's it. It needs to just make sure right now that he can try and take a bit of pressure off Taya Flaten at least and hold Will Redford back, but Will obviously wants the opposite. He wants a nice easy life for the rest of this race to go chasing after champion-elect, double champion, race leader, championship leader, pole position sitter, everything. Taya Flaten's done it all. Ben Hicks was a little bit close to the back of Gregory there, but then sort of faded away slightly. Sam Smith's having a good race, by the way. 4 places gained from the back of the grid, but it looks like an absolute age when you look forward and see how far away his teammate is in comparison. His teammate, though, if we actually jump on board with him, he's, well, actually just serving a slowdown penalty, so bad timing by Chaz. But he was all over the back of Mark Redford for a moment there. Back to this, though, Ed, because this is going to get spicy, I reckon. All it's going to take is one little mistake here.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take much before this all starts to kick off. Actually, Ben Gregory has got, I think, a bigger advantage than he has had for most of the race, and he's going to hope that that's something he can build on. Of course, the slipstream does allow the cars to stay close together, but I don't really think it's that lets him get close enough to properly scrap out, barring a mistake from the driver in front. We'll see how... Oh, sorry. As I was telling Chaz earlier, I have got a bit of food, and I think I've been eating too quickly, and I've got the hiccups. Oh, dear.
Oh, it's a commentator's nightmare. Oh, Ed Hiccup May, that's it now. Right then, so on board with Ben Hicks, hoping to reel in Ben Gregory. He's looked good in this first sector, as, oh my goodness me, have we seen a rare mistake from Taya Flaten? We have. Taya Flaten has been off the road at turn 1. And all of a sudden, this battle for the lead that wasn't a battle for the lead has become a battle for the lead. Let's have a look at Taya Flaten then. Is he just going to float the back end around? And yes, it goes away from him on the brakes, and it's a big old slide and drift. Fair play, Sunshine. That's a great effort. But it loses him a lot of time, and all of a sudden, Will Redford and Eystein Herfjord are back with him. The two drivers that have looked like the only proper threats to him this season. Look at that Civic dancing on the exit. All over the place through the chicane. But all of a sudden, this is becoming a battle. Eystein Herfjord not quite as close to them as he would have liked right now. He wants to make sure that if there's any slip up from either of them in front of him, that he is there to take advantage. We go through the long right-hander at Tillerman box. Over the little rise, you hear the rev spike as the car loses traction, spins the fronts. And Will Redford looks down the inside of Taya Flaten, but there's nothing doing that time round. We've had an incident for Ian Manners, I'm afraid. Oh, he was just coming back out of the pits and he's letting everybody go, so nothing to worry about. Got two trios developing here because Martin Shirley is closing in on the Ben Squadron battle. And then you've got Mark Redford behind them as well. Martin Shirley on his way to the championship. I love those gold wheels. He's absolutely nailed the effect on those. It's quite easy to overdo it with iRacing wheel colours. I mean, Taya Flaten, for example, you know, he's gone for full white wheels, and just because of the way the lighting works here on iRacing, it just doesn't quite look right. I've often found that you've got to do it a sort of off-white to make it look like a realistic white. It's one of those that drivers have to be very careful with, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's especially with the matte finish on iRacing, it seems to always make them appear like they're emitting their own light, isn't it? They are very, very bright and garish. I mean, there is one situation where it does look nice, and that is, I think, on the car of Will Redford. He's managed to get the bright sort of slime green effect colour coming out there, the bright green coming out very nicely on his rims. That's just sometimes where the different effects you can have on iRacing with the sort of rims, allowing you to paint them, and it's a nightmare trying to get them to fit to make them look nicely, because while iRacing has done many good things in terms of letting you paint cars, it can let you see the car sort of in the beta UI as you paint it, but it doesn't allow you to see it in proper sort of lighting conditions out on track.
Yeah, you have to go into a session and take the time to load in and drive it around a bit and so on. And it can be quite a time-consuming process sometimes. And it also depends what sort of lighting the car's in, whether it's in a shadow or not, because sometimes the wheels look like they're glowing, but other times they look just right and they match the paint very, very well indeed. However, 15 minutes of this race left to go. We're just about to hit the 10-minute mark, and it's still Taylor Flatten leading Will Redford, Eystein Herfjord, then it's Ben Gregory and Ben Hicks. Martin Shirley still leading in the AM class from Martin Redford. Third place in AM at the moment is actually the car down in 11th place, which is Martin Kenyon. Well, there's not many AMs out there this evening. We've got 8 pros and 5 AMs. And Martin just needs to hold on ahead of Reese Watt now, who is, of course, on a bit of a mission after having the earlier biff with the wall. And it was one mighty biff as well, it has to be said, Ed. But the car not looking too shabby right now. And to be honest, I don't even think he's been in the pits. He's not actually. So he's just carried on from that point. So it can't be that badly damaged.
Yeah, it doesn't look that horrendous. It looked a little bit dinged up when we saw it, but maybe that was just a visual thing on our end, because now you can see a little bit on the front splitter. It's not necessarily a uniform line. There is a few sort of divots and
creases
dents in carbon fibre, which is very strange how iRacing carbon fibre works.
Well, to be fair, it'll probably be fiberglass on the TCR cars actually. On these, I'm pretty sure the bumpers are fiberglass. And there's a lot of other bits of the car being carbon. They
do a lot of bumping and banging. You don't really want to be wasting good carbon fibre.
This is a move, by the way. I think Ben Hicks maybe got a slowdown penalty there, and he's just let him go. He knows he doesn't want to fight it too hard. Doesn't want to stop his pal. Martin Shirley now has a buffer between himself and Mark Redford. Not that he needs it, because at the end of the day, all he's got to do is score a couple of points in this one, and he's done the job, because you can only get 20 for a race victory, and he is at least that away from everybody else right now. We would have needed really to have Jose Scully here and taking a big chunk of points out of him to make it a very close-fought thing, so Martin just needs to turn up, enjoy himself, and just get these laps in and, well, bring the championship home effectively, Ed. It's not a stressful evening for him, really.
Yeah, and developments at the front continuing to carry on. Will Redford just did his personal best of the race so far, but that was still 0.2 of a second off of that last lap time by Taylor Flatten. So that just shows that it can be so disheartening, isn't it, for Will Redford? He's chasing down the car in front. He puts in his best lap of the race, and he still loses time to the car ahead. That is, well, not very good news to have. Yeah.
No, that would be a moment where you're really tearing your hair out at the end of the day. If you put in these fast lap times and pushing as hard as you can, and you think, oh yeah, that was a good lap, I could maybe do that again and keep this sort of pace up, and I'd be happy with that. And then you see the guy ahead of you is still opening up the gap, and you think, oh, what do I have to do? And to be honest, this season has been about that with Taylor Flatten, hasn't it? It's just, what do they all have to do to beat this man? And he's such a lovely guy as well. You can't be mad at him for it. It's just brilliant entertainment, though, just to see the way that he almost just floats this car around. It's a phrase that I'm using a lot at the moment with my commentary. It's just that people float a car around or float it through a corner, but it really does just glide around the circuit, does Taylor Flatten's car. It's like an old school Aurora AFX scale electric machine. It just sort of sticks to the road and does exactly what he wants it to. And yeah, there you go. Fastest lap by Will Redford, but it is 800 slower than Taylor Flatten's time. It's just that because he got an incident point, it doesn't come up as purple for us. So Taylor's still just edging away gradually, and the gap is getting bigger and bigger. It's just remarkable.
I think that's what this TCR car needs, though. It needs a delicate hand to glide it through. I think a lot of front-wheel drive cars need that as well. You see it a lot on iRacing, the way that it's sort of been modelled, the way that they handle. It's supposed to be very smooth and predictable with it, not to scrub it about, because if you do, you lose a lot of time, because that's where the power is applied. And if you are fighting the car about, not only are the front wheels having to steer, but also put the power down, and that just makes it so much harder to actually get the drive out of these corners. So you can see Taylor Flatten on board. The car just seems to respond and do exactly what he wants, because it keeps it just under the limit where it'll be fighting and being all feisty with him. So we'll see it especially in towards here, towards Boulderberg Bocht. The way he just slides it through the corner here, the amount of apex speed he carries just looks so much nicer coming out of the corner compared to the Civic in behind of Will Redford.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job though, and again, you're absolutely right. It's just on that limit of where the grip is and not forcing those front wheels to do too much, because that's what you need to be careful of in front wheel drive touring cars, is not making the front wheels do more than they are already trying to do, because let's face it, they're doing most of the braking, they're doing most of the steering, they're doing all of the power delivery. So when you try and overwork those front tyres, it doesn't just affect the front end of the car, it affects the whole thing, and it makes it feel like an absolute bus. As right now, Ben Hicks goes down the inside of Martin Shirley, nothing too much to worry about there for Martin. And Ben goes through, but makes a little bit of a meal of it on the exit. You can see the two different windscreen banners there. Ben's is the white one with the Pro designation, and of course Martin Shirley's the dark blue, almost black windscreen banner to show that he's an AM driver. And well, he says, I don't care if I'm an AM driver, I'm still going to have a go, I'm still going to do some racing. And that's a good thing, you know. Some of these guys, they're not sort of walking on eggshells or sort of treading on eggshells, whatever the phrase is. They're just getting on with it and enjoying the racing now, because it's the last day of school, last race meeting of the season, and they need to just get on with it and enjoy themselves. You know, Martin's probably the only one really that needs to take any care here in this meeting and not get biffed about or anything because of his championship implications, but he's still getting on with it and he's having a good old scrap.
Yeah, I think with if Scully doesn't suddenly turn up midway through the race and put in a lap time, which he can't do, I don't think. You can't join midway through a race. I think Martin Shirley has got this nailed down. The only thing that could essentially get in his way is if he gets protested and maybe needs to have, because obviously you can't be given sort of anything like a exclusion from qualifying for the next race or starting from the back. That could result in points penalties. So he basically just needs to make sure he keeps his nose, like you say, Chaz, completely squeaky clean.
That is it. He just needs to be very careful and just bring it home. Like I say, it's going to be the talking point really here, that he's the only one now that can sort of lose a championship if he isn't too careful here, because it's just about making sure that he finishes and scores a point, because the other guys, I think at this point in time would be, Mark Redford would be 43 points back, and that's an entire race meeting's worth of victories and 3 more. So at the moment it's looking very solid for Martin Shirley. As long as he scores points here, he is all good.
Because I think my net was having a bit of a hiccup there. I think it still continues too. Hopefully it seems all right for now, but Martin Shirley is doing a stand-up job, isn't he? Currently at the top of the AM pile in the race. There's actually, Will Redford has gotten ahead of Taylor Flatten. What has happened here to our race leader, Chaz?
Suddenly it all changes. I'm wondering whether he got a slowdown or something, because yeah, he has. Like, he's had a moment through his chicane, hasn't he? Let's have a look, see if we can go a bit further back and catch this. So let's see if it was at this point. He must have had a moment in the chicane or hit the curb or something. Going to head down towards the chicane now then. Will's not really that close at this point in time. He's maybe about half a second back. In he goes, and oh yeah, he hits that first part very hard indeed. And yeah, there, realises that he gets the slowdown penalty, and Will Redford goes through. So the lead battle suddenly erupts, and Will started 5th on the grid, and you were saying before that you expected Will to be up there if he had a better qualifying session, but well, he still managed it, hasn't he? Fantastic stuff by Mr. Redford. Great entertainment as well. And now these two go head-to-head once more.
Yeah, it seems some great lap times come through from those further down the order as well. I mean, Ben Hicks, he's just set the fastest lap time of the race out of everybody. That is a brilliant lap time from the driver currently in 5th place, who's now chasing down Ben Gregory. So that battle's going to continue to rage on while we watch Taylor Flatten and Will Redford go at it for the lead of the race with, well, just over 5 minutes to go.
Look at the way they bounce over those curbs. It's brilliant to watch. The Civic especially is a very bouncy car, and we've seen this before. Both of the Redfords find themselves in battles, though, because Mark is all over the back of Martin Shirley for the AM class lead. Be good to see Mark get another class win, but at the end of the day, Martin wants to make sure that he dominates this and finishes it in the best fashion possible, because if this is the race where he fully clinches the title, he wants to win it. You don't want to finish second and sort of have it as a sort of an additional, like a cherry on top. You want to have the whole cake, don't you? The whole thing in that final moment when you clinch a championship. But back to the front. These two glued together once more, and there's a bit of slipstream coming into effect here. Will Redford's got the car in the middle of the road, exactly where he needs to. Taylor tries to make him brake a little bit later as Will parks it on the apex. Taylor gives him a little bit of an encouraging tap, but there's nothing untoward about that. It's just close touring car racing, and look, he's got Will absolutely. He's in his head rent-free now. He's all over him. He goes one way, then the other, down the inside. Taylor Flatten later on the brakes. Beautiful move. Does he get it stopped? They're both sideways. There's a bit of a tap, and Redford ends up off the road. But then again, nothing untoward about it. Both of them got a bit of a slide on, and, well, the contact was not inevitable, but it was going to happen the way they were floating through the corner. I was just keeping my eye on Eystein Herfjord, but that was very tough stuff there, Ed. Let's have one more look at it.
You can see he goes to the right, Jing to the left, hard onto the brakes. He gets the inside, takes a lot of speed into the corner. But yeah, that's just what happens. I think if you're trying to fight around the outside in a front-wheel drive car, you're always going to be struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very close, very tough stuff, but yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't always work, and there is contact sometimes, but I think we need to be grateful, and they need to be grateful of the fact that it's touring car racing and you can get away with it. You can lean on each other a little bit and not have to worry too much as, Mark Redford. Mark Redford's had to slow it down. He's had a slowdown penalty. He's not lost any places in his class, which is good, but it puts him out of touch with class leader Martin Shirley.
Yeah, Martin yet again gets a buffer of a car between himself and his main rival in this race for the victory. As Ben Gregory and Ben Hicks are still close together. You can see them now nose to tail, just going out of Boulderbo Bocht. Towards Bochen Bocht. It's such a brilliant circuit, this, even though it isn't necessarily one that we expect to see lots of overtaking. I think we've been treated to quite a lot here tonight so far already.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's been fantastic to watch. Absolutely really good door-to-door stuff in most cases. And, well, Ben Gregory is back under pressure from Ben Hicks, so it's going to continue here in the NEVO TCR Series here on Chaz Draycott Media. This is the penultimate round of the season, and we hope you've been enjoying the action so far. Hello to all of you that are in the Twitch chat, YouTube chat, and, of course, over on Facebook as well. Wherever you may be watching this, we hope you are enjoying the show. It's going to carry on as well, because after a quick 5-minute warm-up session between the two races, we will have another one for you. We've got Cosmos in the chat saying, "Go Martin, yes you can, STR, STR." And he's cheering on Martin Shirley from SimTech Racing, of course. White Van Man Gaming as well, a friend of mine from over on Circuit Superstars, has said he's not played much iRacing, but the familiar noise of tyres sliding across the track earlier made him shiver. And to be honest, Ed, we've described the noise as a paper cup being scraped across a table before, and it is quite the painful noise to listen to, especially when you're the one behind the wheel, isn't it? Yeah,
it is never pleasant, let's put it that way, but I'll tell you who wouldn't mind hearing that might be Will Redford if he hears and sees Taylor Flatten have another little mistake, as he has done a surprising amount of times here tonight already, which is uncharacteristic for the driver who's, well, sealed up the championship with 2 rounds to go. He has been looking in fine form, but to be fair, even with those little mistakes, he's still in the race by over a second, so it can't be all bad for him, can it?
No, absolutely not. He's doing a strong job of it. And right now, he crosses the line with 2 minutes left to go. It's about 1 minute 37 for a lap, or 1:37.114 if you Taylor Flatten, doing the fastest lap of the race. So we're going to have this lap and then one more after that. Not sure if the countdown timer, counting down rather than up, has made that much of a difference, but I quite like it, you know. I've adjusted to it by now. But this is still Ben's squadron having a good old go at each other. There's not much going on in terms of overtaking, but it's still one of those intense chases, isn't it, that we need to keep our eye on.
Real cat and mouse, isn't it, I think, with these two trying to chase down Ben Gregory is Ben Hicks. You just see what he's taking, turning in that a little bit earlier. But out of the corners, I think Ben Gregory just is able to get the car settled and get on the parallel that bit earlier.
Fantastic stuff to watch them though, bouncing around like this. You've got to love it. And again, just this fantastic scenery of Zolder making their way through all the shadows, all the trees. Look at the way that Ben Gregory
slide.
It's just so sideways on the way in, isn't it?
It's again, he's for some reason that rear end just does not play ball through the Villeneuve chicane. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's a brake bias issue or something, or maybe it's just down to the setup. Not entirely sure, but it is really quite unsteady. You can actually see a lot of the drivers opting for big camber on the front and little to none at the rear to basically induce the front end stability and the rear end sort of rotation. Ben Gregory is able to stay ahead for now, but with only one lap to go, we know that now Ben Hicks, the punches that might have been being pulled earlier, are going to be going all out.
Is indeed. Onto the final lap of the race we go then. 10 seconds left on the clock as these two cross the line. Ben Hicks steps the rear end out through turn 1. Then we go over to the right-hander, turn 2, Sterenvacht Bucht. Doesn't go for a move here. He's going to try and get a good run on the way down into the chicane, I'm sure. Cuts across though as, oh no, he tried to cut back down the inside of Ben Gregory and he's lost it. He's lost all that time. Martin Shirley's got Nick Clibbens all over the back of him. He needs to be careful here that he doesn't get Nick clippened, because we've seen Nick in quite a lot of incidents this season. It has to be said. No disrespect to him, because he's a very good driver. He's second in the championship coming into this. But he's certainly had a little bit of argy-bargy here and there. He's going to look down the inside. Doesn't go for it on Martin. Ooh, wiggles around on the brakes. But this man, Ed, well, I mean, he's won every race so far that we've seen him on track for except one. And he's going to try and do, well, say try. He's going to do it again, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's only got a few more corners to go, and he'll win the first race of the evening. And how many times have we said that this season? More than a few, I can guarantee. I mean, pretty much every single race that I've commentated on. I've only commentated on 2. Now it'll be 3. If Lutner's come through to win the race.
Yep. Onto the brakes one more time into the Jackie Ixbocht. And for Ignia Motorsport and Norway, round the final corner goes Terje Flaten, takes another victory in the NEVO TCR Series. Fantastic drive. Great effort by Will Redford to get second place. And Eystein Herfjord gets some strong points on the podium. That could be important ahead of Nick Clibbens in the championship. But into the final chicane, or out of the final chicane, to take the NEVO TCR Series AM Championship, Martin Shirley for Simtech Racing becomes the AM champion and wraps up the entire series with one more race to go, meaning that the gloves will be very much off for everybody in the last one. But well done to Martin, well done to his team. He's going to be a happy bunny right now, Ed.
He certainly will be. He's thoroughly deserved it from what I've seen of him this season. Been watching a few rounds where I wasn't commentating, and the ones where I did see him out on track myself in the comms box. He was very impressive last time out. Has been very impressive here tonight as well, securing the AM class victory in the race and also across the whole season. Stunning job.
Excellent to watch. Great entertainment as ever. We've got pretty much everybody finished the race now as well, so we'll be able to get the results in just a sec. And while the warm-up session comes on, we will quickly go over them. Let's just see how that all got classified by the end, and it's Terje Flaten 2 seconds clear of Will Redford, taking the first win of the night. Will Redford second place though, another strong result for him. Eystein Herfjord another podium for the 5-star motorsport man. Ben Gregory finishes 4th after holding off Ben Hicks all the way through. Martin Shirley wins the AM class and wins the AM championship. Nick Clibbens finishes 7th ahead of Mark Redford in 8th. Then we have Sam Smith 9th and Hakon Ask rounding out the top 10. We didn't really see anything of those pair throughout that race. Next up was Reese Watt in 11th place, just misses out on the AM Championship. Martin Kenyon and Ian Manners complete our field. But still great fun to watch. We've got the warm-up session, which will be on for just a couple more minutes now. Ed and I are going to take a quick break, everybody, and we will be back with you in just a few minutes' time. Do not go anywhere, and we will bring you the final round of the NEVO TCR Series from Zolder. We'll see you in a sec.
the time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment, make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Stop the time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment, make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away?
Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here from Zolder for the final round of the NEVO TCR Series. And it has been, well, one hell of a season. Really good fun to watch. I'm sorry that warm-up session might not have been fantastic to watch. The cameras seem to do their own thing whenever I leave them unattended. I had to quickly run upstairs and discuss something with my partner and then run back downstairs again. So I might be an out-of-breath Chaz for a few moments. It's my own fault for having a 3-story townhouse. Anyway, Ed, we've got not long now before the season is done, and I can't believe it's come around already, mate, because this season has flown by. You've been watching it since the start, even though you've not been commentating on it since the start. What do you think we can expect from the final day at school when all the gloves are completely off?
Well, hopefully yet another brilliant performance from our reigning champion, the double champion, Terje Flatten, who has been supreme all season long. You're going to have to hope for one last stellar performance from him, but also hope that maybe someone can take it to him. We did see Will Redford really go at it, but I think he took a lot out of his tyres at the early phase of the race, and all of those overtakes and his pace just seemed to drop away in those latter stages. So hopefully we'll see some good entertainment. And as well, what about this, Chaz? Look who's on pole position and champion.
Yeah, Martin Shirley is going to love this. He's going to be a very happy boy right now. Martin Shirley on pole for Simtech Racing. Ben Hicks alongside him with his sparring partner Ben Gregory on the other side of the grid in third. Then it's Eystein Herfjord, Will Redford and Terje Flatten. And then the rest of the field will be as they finished race 1. So, expect some fireworks potentially here. We may not have the biggest grid of the season with 13 cars, but it's sure to be an entertaining one. Ed May and Chaz Draycott here to guide you through all of the action once more from Zolder as well. NEVO, a very much Belgian-surrounded community in the heart of Belgium for the final round. And one more time, the NEVO TCR Series gets underway, and it's a lovely launch by Martin Shirley off the line. Where's Eystein Herfjord and his typically good starts? Well, he's sort of in the middle of Ben Hicks and Ben Gregory. He has to move out of the way. Will Redford looks to the inside in front of Terje Flatten. They're still 2x2 in the middle of the pack, and nearly a bit of contact there further back between Terje and Nick Clibbens. It's still Martin Shirley at the front of the field, but Ben Hicks and Ben Gregory side by side for second place. Will Redford nearly goes into the back of the Veloster. Gets a bit out of shape, and Eystein Herfjord goes down the inside now. He's going to try and take advantage of that as they go through the long right. He gives Will absolutely zero room, and down the inside of the pair of them, Nick Clibbens says, "Thank you very much, boys." They're both sideways. Oh, they just get a bit argy-bargy with each other. Oh, one Redford moves out of the way, gets a headbutt from Reese Watt, and Reese has to slam on the brakes, but look at that, suddenly into focus. Martin Shirley leads the race, Ed. Fantastic start.
Yeah, that was, well, hectic is, I think, the best way to describe it. That was everything going on in behind this man, Martin Shirley. Let's have a look from the chopper cab, and it is just Earthjord running a bit too wide, and then all of a sudden in the inside he's, well, just stuck in the middle of a fully wide moment. There's nothing he can really do in that situation.
Oh, he's had a slowdown.
Quite a lot as well, so he's had a slowdown through one of the chicanes as well. Oh my word, Reese Watt's been in the wars.
Oh, Reese Watt's around again, and he's going to be thinking, what if? Unbelievable night for him so far as Redford sends it down the inside of Sam Smith. I'm sure Sam won't take that lightly. Side by side they go as they go through the Jochen Rinkt box and then down towards Jackie X box. The final chicane on this lap. Sam Smith pulls in front of the Honda. He goes straight back down the inside again. Does Will? Is he going to get that stopped? And he does. Oh, a little bit impatient there by Sam. Drives into the back of him. Eystein Herfjord says, thank you very much, sunshine. So, end of lap 1. Martin Shirley leads, but Ben Hicks all over the back of him. And then Ben Gregory watching from the wings as Ben Hicks decides to pull the handbrake halfway around turn 1. Ben Gregory goes through and he's going to go for the lead. Martin Shirley ran wide on the exit. I think, to be fair there, Ed, Ben Hicks was a prime example of following the guy in front. And when the guy in front of you makes a mistake, you make a mistake. It's proper Rocket League behaviour, I call it.
Let's have a look at this. Now it's the right hand turn. It's going to be difficult to fight around the outside, but if he can get a good drive, that puts him in the prime position. Up the inside, in towards the chicane.
Oh.
And he's going to have it. They bang doors all the way down the straight. This is touring car action. And its most touring car. Not going to say it's most fastest, but certainly it's its most touring. Oh, and then coming out of the chicane, I think Ben Gregory is going to have a slight run, but he's going to be caught up here by Nick Clibbins and Martin Shirley in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Ben Gregory covers off the inside. He doesn't have the rear end stick out that he has had all evening long, and that allows him to drive out and drive away, hopefully into the distance, and hopefully before we can see Taya Flatten get ahead of Clibbins and Shirley.
Amazing battling already. Maybe a very unnecessary door bang by Ben Gregory and Martin Shirley down the back straight, but maybe Ben just felt he was hard done by. I mentioned Rocket League behaviour a moment ago. There's a thing in Rocket League where if the person that you're sort of going up to sort of try and get the ball from misses the ball, then it's pretty much written in the stars that you're going to miss it as well, because you always try and compromise or read what they're doing and sort of make a move based on that so you can get a deflection or something. And it happens in sim racing where if you're following a car, they make a mistake in front of you, you will probably go off as well. You can easily fall into a rhythm of following the car that you're chasing. We have the top 8.
How many times, Chaz, have we said that someone spun in sympathy?
Yeah. Oh, millions of
for
times.
that exact reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, someone's just gone wide and no one followed him there. That was Nick Clibbins, I think, just running a little bit off of the track and into the gravel, but the next one comes up so quickly. He's got the inside line. He's going to be able to stay ahead of Taya Flatten, who looks to get a nose up the inside. Any form of Oblap. Unfortunately, not for the Norwegian. But big bump over the curb. Is that going to compromise Nick Clemens' run down towards the chicane?
We've got loads of duos again here. Gregory and Shirley, Clibbins and Flatten, Hicks and Ask, Redford and Herfjord. And in that moment in time, it was actually Ben Hicks that had a big old moment through turn 1 as well. You know, he got sideways and then in sideways again through turn 2. So maybe the car not quite agreeing with him. Will Redford still in the hunt here as well in the middle of all this. 7th position though, started 5th on the grid. And Martin Shirley, well, he's got 6 cars between himself and his nearest AM rival, Mark Redford. So he's going to complete the season in style, I'm sure. But great entertainment in the opening laps, and that's 5 minutes of the race gone already, nearly a fifth of the way through. And it's Ben Gregory for Boosted Motorsport that is leading this race in the Hyundai Veloster. And Ben is certainly going to be excited about the fact that there's a potential win on the table here. Only 3 drivers have won races outright this season. That is Taya Flatten winning 11, Eystein Herfjord winning 2, and Will Redford winning 1. Can Ben Gregory make himself the 4th driver on that list? There's been 6 different drivers that have won in the AM class. Martin Shirley has 7, Reese Watt has 3, nobody else has any more than that. But wow, fantastic entertainment, like I've said. Eystein Herfjord now, fastest lap of the race. He's watching Will Redford and Hakon Ask go side by side around turn 2. Will Redford around the outside, lovely stuff. Great respect by Hakon Ask, and it must be said, I think Hakon's been one of the most respectful drivers out there this season, you know. But it's intriguing though, because he's sort of languishing in the lower half of the top 10 most of the time now, Ed, and he was one of the drivers to beat at the start of the season.
I remember seeing him at Hungaroring and thought, oh, this could be something quite exciting from him, because he was looking like a driver that could have taken it right up to the top level, but for some reason I think everyone else has just gotten quicker while he's pretty much stayed at the same pace. It's not to say that he's slow, he's just, I think all those drivers around him have developed and gotten faster as well. We've just seen exactly one of the reasons why Hakan has not been so great this season, and that's just one little mistake through the chicane, giving him a slowdown. But with benefits from that, Øystein Herfjord now up into 7th place.
Still the battles rage on. Nick Clibbens, if anything right now, he's doing his fellow brightly coloured Veloster driver Ben Gregory a favour. Well, he was trying to hold off Taya Flatten, but again, we've got drivers just turning in when there's other drivers there and not leaving a car's width down the inside, and you do see it a lot in touring car racing. It's like, especially on iRacing, it's like the drivers know that touring cars can get away with it a little bit more contact-wise compared to cars that, let's face it, on iRacing you can't breathe on without them going off the circuit. It's like they take liberties with it, isn't it? They just think, right, stuff it, I'm going to turn in on him just because I know I can lean on him, and then blame him for the contact. And it's a bit of a shame sometimes. It's not something that Nick Clibbens is always doing, but again, it's contact involving Nick, and I think, yes, Taya Flatten's just gone.
Oh, Taya Flatten, no! We did so hard work, didn't he, to get up ahead. And now it's all been undone. And that's, Chaz, this is great for Ben.
Oh yeah, this is all for Ben. Ben Gregory, this is all he wants. 13's unlucky for some, but Ben Gregory at the moment, well, he's going to be grateful that he picked that number. Martin Shirley's going to be happy in 2nd place outright as well for SimTech Racing. Just don't you say anything good about Ben Gregory, Ed. I know what your commentator's curse is like. It's like lightning strikes. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Never met anybody with a more powerful commentator's curse. Taya Flatten, though.
So it would be bad if I said that Martin Shirley's going to be happy as well. He doesn't now have Taya Flatten breathing down his neck.
Oh, especially now. He's had another slowdown penalty as Taya. He's really pushing hard. And this is the thing, though. It's last day of school, isn't it? So he can just throw the car around and enjoy it for this last race of the season. But unfortunately, it's probably one of the least enjoyable races he's going to have this season.
No, it's a nightmare as well because this circuit, it invites you to push the limits, doesn't it? You think, oh, these chicanes here, you can see how much of the curb you can take. There's no real clear distinction. It's not that there's sort of, like we'd have potentially at something like Alton Park where you can see through the chicane, you've got big tyre stacks that say, don't go here, you'll die. There's nothing like that here at Zolder. And that's the thing, it invites the drivers to push that little bit too hard and they pick up a slowdown, and it's just... yeah, it's not pleasant, especially if you are a driver that wants to, you know, go to the very edge of what you can do. That's what the top drivers do, and that's why you see so many of the top drivers suffer for it.
Will Redford's not suffering, though. He's just on the fastest lap of the race now in his pursuit of Nick Clibbens, a 1:38.134. Very strong time indeed. And you can see the race leader from here, and I think, especially in touring car racing, when it remains as close as it is, that's one of the painful bits, is seeing that the race leader is so close and just in touching distance. Øystein Herfjord's just got past Ben Hicks for 5th position, ahead of Taya Flatten, but we remain on board here with Will Redford on the way down towards the Kleiner chicane, legendary corner here on this here circuit, as he says in a Texan accent. Wow! But again, that's the thing. Will is used to driving a Honda Civic Type R EP3 in the Miltech Civic Cup in real life. And if you said that car was oversteery, someone would slap you for the absolute masterpiece of understatement that you came out with. Those cars love to hang the rear end out, so Will is used to the car bouncing around like that, and he knows how to handle this in the sim as well, very well. He's already proven himself in the sim, and he's very exciting to watch, and I'm sure he's going to send it down the inside here, maybe not. Maybe I'm expecting too much from him, but he's now going to just maybe try and stick to the back of Nick Clibbens and hopefully get dragged towards the cars in front, and that'll give him an easier time into the latter stages of the race. 15 minutes to go, Ed.
Øystein Herfjord now has clear air and might be able to get up to the back end of Will Redford. He's been able to, I think, dispatch Ben Hicks, who himself has been overtaken by now Taya Flatten, who's having his recovery drive. Car going slowly there, and I think that is
Ian Manners.
That is actually Ian Manners, is it? Okay, so he's basically doing the right thing. He sees a huge battling train of cars, and while he loses a lot of time in the process, he does the sensible thing and prevents any accidents from occurring.
We'll keep our eye, though, on this lead quartet. Just see what they can manage, because Will Redford is surely going to be the one that shakes all this up right now. It'll only... Other than Will, it'll take a mistake from the other drivers, basically. They're all at a very similar pace at this stage. They all did either a 1:38.1 or a 38.2 on that previous lap. Will did a 37.8, so he's a couple of tenths quicker than all the guys that he's chasing. But the others aren't in any massive rush as Ben Gregory's had a slowdown. No! Ben Gregory loses the race lead. I said it'd be a mistake, and Nick Clibbens is now on the outside. He can't turn across the front of Ben, but he makes it work. Will Redford's now side by side with him, and that's worst case scenario for Gregory because he's got a pro car in front, and he's got surely the fastest guy in this battle right behind him. That is devastating stuff, Ed.
I didn't curse him, but I did think the only thing that could change this, I think, is a mistake from Ben Gregory because we've seen it already tonight. He's been quit, and his consistency though has not been there. Something that's been basically his trademark this entire season long. He's not had it here tonight, and sadly, I think that might be his undoing. Is up the inside now. He's gonna go for it. Will Redford up into third place, but they lean on each other, and then some, don't they? Coming through Jackie Xbox. Flash of the headlights shows how Ben Gregory feels about that.
Yeah, he went a little bit deep, did Will, but at the end of the day, they're racing so hard in a chicane, and, you know, Ben was trying to carry the speed around the outside. It wasn't going to happen, I'm afraid, and, you know, Will naturally will run wide into the side of his car, and I'm glad that there wasn't contact like we saw at Red Bull Ring between the two of them, because let's not forget, Ben tried to straighten the whole thing up there and, you know, defend in a straight line, and obviously caused that big old hit between the two of them. And they both got on after that. You know, they were both fine about it, and they discussed it in Discord afterwards, but it's just not what you want to see. And is that Eystein Herfjord letting Terje Flaten go? I think it was. It was. Terje Flaten in front of his countryman Eystein Herfjord now to go chasing on after Ben Gregory and Will Redford. He's probably saying, you know what, Terje, you can still win this race, mate. Off you go.
Yeah, and I mean, would you want to say otherwise? He's been so quick. all throughout tonight, all throughout the season, for that matter. And Ben Gregory again.
Yeah, I thought he did.
Another slowdown.
Yeah, I thought he had a really big cut at the start of that one. Reese Watts had a couple of issues here, I'm afraid. He's had a moment here at the chicane. Back end goes around on him, and that is a trademark almost of the Civic right now. And then it's done it again at the Jackie Xbox. That one's a bit more grass orientated though, I'm afraid. And look at the way it floats. It's just... It doesn't behave like a front-wheel drive car, does it, when you see it like that? It's quite frightening how un-front-wheel drive like that is. Oh, my goodness me. Friendly teammates. Get a room, boys. Hakon Ask and Ben Hicks giving each other a good old wet and dry rub as they come down towards the final chicane. Flipping heck.
This is great. We love to see battles between teammates here because you know they mean just that little bit more, even if it is for 8th place.
Ooh.
What it is more for is the bragging rights. Both of them have identical little twitches right on the apex of the first corner. Hakon Ask looking to go all the way around the outside of Ben Hicks, but it's not going to go through. Ben Hicks slow off of the corner though. Is he going to actually allow his teammate through? I think he might be. No, he's not. They're still going at it.
This is like two teammates trying to have a more flamboyant crash than the other and basically try and stay on the road at the same time. Ben Hicks throws it off at the side again on the left, all over the gravel. Now, it sounded like someone clouted the curbs there. Are we going to see slowdown penalties for anybody? Is there anything obvious? Doesn't look like it. Now, everyone's seeming to carry on, but we'll go back to these. Oh, well, there's a slowdown. Ben Hicks has overdone it. And Hakon Ask, well, doesn't have to ask, goes straight through. As Ian Manners is off the road. It may have been Ian that had the problem there because it shows that he's gone off the circuit. Let's have a look. Wow, that's a big one. And then he is getting going.
But here we go, Chaz. Now 10 minutes to go in this race. Can Martin Shirley win his first race of the season after he's now been crowned as the AM champion?
That would be a hell of a night, wouldn't it? But I'm scared. I'm scared for him.
I can see that Nick Clemens is hungry and behind. As Nick actually, I don't think Nick has actually tasted victory either. So I think both of these two drivers, they've got a lot to fight for. And Martin Shirley, he's got nothing to worry about. He's already secured the championship. So he doesn't need to have a call ahead. He can properly go for it.
Yeah, he really can. He's just got to push now. And like you say, treat it like there's nothing to lose now. And, well, Clibbens, we know he's quick. We know he's fast and right up there. He's got the second spot in the championship at the moment. And he's safe by a long way over Eystein Herfjord. So, again, just doesn't need to focus on that too much. Just go for it. Enjoy second. And again, he's one of those drivers. He's not been under the radar in every race meeting. As I said before, he's been the subject of quite a bit of contact at certain race meetings, but he's just been scoring the points, hasn't he? And he's been there at almost every round. And that's all you need to do in these championships. There will always be drivers that miss out certain rounds. There will be drop scores as well, but Nick's just been one of the consistent ones, and that's what pays in touring car racing. You can have these drivers that we've seen them before. You know, if you look at the British Touring Car Championship, look at Ash Sutton. He's won championships, he's been in the fight, but when you look back through the season and he only scores, you know, he only wins it by a couple of points or he misses out by a couple of points, you look back at certain race meetings where he's gone for a move to gain second place instead of third, and you think, if he'd have just held third there, he would have been champion. And it's those moments, isn't it, that really matter.
Yeah, but here tonight, we don't have to worry about any championship in the long game. They just have to worry about tonight. They've basically got their positions nailed down. And the one thing that they can focus on is the position they will finish at the end of this race. That's what they're 100% focused on. Will Redford in behind Nick Clibbins, hungry for victory. As is this man, Taylor Flatten. What an upside-down topsy-turvy race he's having. He's had a great start to the race, then a bad start, then even worse middle phase, and now fighting back through the field. It has been astonishing. We were saying at the start of this second race, we'd be hoping for one final brilliant performance from our champion. There's been contact there. Nick Clibbins has slowed down massively. Has Martin Shirley picked up a slowdown?
Yeah.
Yes, he has. And all of a sudden, Will Redford has been unleashed into the lead of the race.
I feel that's on Will, I'm afraid. I hate to sort of judge straight away, but I feel that Will broke too late and pushed the pair of them off. It honestly looked like Will really closed in, and, well, there's a tap there, and then Clibbins hits Shirley. Both of them end up with slowdown penalties, and Will gets away with it. We'll have another look and see whether we can get it from this point of view. It's a bit further on. Can we fast forward it? Not much. There is a way I can edit this, actually. If you bear with me 2 secs, I can make it do like 8 times instead of 2, and we can go bang. There we go.
Have a look at Chopper Cam as well. That might
be incriminating.
Eliminate things a bit more.
He's nowhere near him here, though. This might be a long. Yeah. Oh, you know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna rewind it instead. I hate this. I hate doing this, but it's the only way that we're going to find this out, so I'm afraid you're going to have to bear with it, everyone. But here we go. So Will is all over the back of Nick. Tap, 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 and... I think Nick broke late to make sure he didn't get hit by Will. But then that's still on Nick, unfortunately. It's not so much on Will, but of course, I agree. On Nick. Yeah, so, sorry, Will. But just from that first angle, it looked like he pushed the pair of them. So I withdraw my original statement, and I think that Nick was just braking that bit later to try and avoid the contact. We've all been there, haven't we, Ed, where you're watching the guy behind and you think, oh god, he's going to hit me, so you let off the brakes that little bit and all of a sudden it can cause more issues than it can solve. But right now Martin Shirley said, sod you know what, I'm gonna go for you. Yeah, I mean, even after all of that, I would say Martin Shirley, for that little bit of what we were just watching, he looked like the quicker driver. This is still not over. He might be able to fight for the lead. Look at this, right up to the back end now of Will Redford, who's had to cook his tyres massively after being involved in accidents at the start of the race and having to fight up through the field. Martin Shirley, he's not had that to worry about. He's been able to conserve his tyres for this end phase of the race. He's probably in the best shape possible to go on and win this if you just look at the tyres and what their car's states are in at this moment in time. He's certainly in with a shout, and this is a very interesting dynamic right now because we've got Taylor Flatten and Will Redford, two drivers that are, I think it's safe to say, the fastest two drivers in the championship. And then you've got the fastest AM driver in the championship in the middle of them, hoping to get his first win. But Taylor Flatten can smell an almost perfect record in this championship, and he's literally half a second off the leader with 5 minutes to go. Martin Shirley, he's in with a chance of finishing what's been an amazing campaign in the best way possible with an overall win. Will Redford's just here to basically have some amazing racing. He's not done the whole season, but he's proving a point of just how quick he is and how ruthless he is and tenacious in getting forward in these packs. And it would be epic to see Will take another race victory. However, the guys behind, well, they're queuing up here to stop him. And look at this, Martin Shirley. What a boy. He's absolutely on a mission. He is. He's not hanging about, you know. Oh, and Will's overdone it. Fast. Will's done it. He's overcooked it massively, and that has surely got to be a slowdown penalty. Where is Martin Shirley? Is he able to get ahead? I think Will's actually somehow gotten away with it. I think he has. I think somehow he was very sideways, but I think he's not cut enough of that right-hand curb.
You'd surely clip it there. For a second, just through the chicane. Sorry, Chaz. I thought he might have been caught out there. It seems to be all right.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think that Will was that sideways on the way in that he avoided the right-hand curb, which is usually more to blame for the slowdown penalties. So I think he's got away with that there, and that is, I mean, it's amazing, but at the same time, you can imagine Martin Shirley will be ripping his hair out, won't he?
Yeah, but I don't know. If I was Martin Shirley, if you asked me what to do if we was in this situation with about 7 minutes of the race to go, I would have allowed Taylor Flutton to come through and see if those two would scrap. It's the last race of the season. There's probably going to be some fireworks and you might have a good chance of actually winning the thing outright. But his pace is so good right now as Martin that I think staying where he is at the moment is the best bet. He's forcing Will Redford to go deep into the corners, which causes him to use his tyres more and more. And in towards this bit of the lap, he's going to be the quickest driver out there. You can see he's actually pulling away from Taylor Flutton, reeling in Will Redford. He could go for us with a good run through this right-hander, which he looks to get because, look, he takes his time into the apex, powers out nicely. He's all over the back now of Will Redford. This is nail-biting stuff. But no matter what happens, it's going to be a great result. As he gets a hit from behind, I think. Must have been. The car just suddenly snapped on him, didn't it? What's happened to Taylor Flutton? He's dropped back behind Clibbens. Might not slow down.
I've just realised that I've muted myself and the stream haven't heard me for about 5 minutes, so I'm sorry everybody. But I'm just saying now that this is an absolute highlight of how great this race has been all season long.
This has been, well, one of the best races we've seen all season long. We've been really treated to some excellent races in the past couple of rounds. That first race, the past two races at the Red Bull Ring were mega as well in terms of proper touring car style battling that we saw here, and here tonight it's been no different. Oystein Herfjord now in behind Ben Gregory. He's probably going to be left thinking of what could have been after those slowdowns that went his way. It's a big shame, but Will Redford up in front still continues to lead.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal by Will, to be honest. The way he's come into this championship and really made his mark, it's been very entertaining, it has to be said. May have ruffled a few feathers at points, but at the end of the day, a lot of the best drivers always do. And apologies again for muting myself there, everybody. I've got pretty horrendous toothache again at the moment, as I had earlier on in the season. So whatever I've had done doesn't seem to have sorted it. But taking painkillers live on air doesn't always sound fantastic. So I thought maybe try and mute that just in case you have to listen to any of it. And then, yeah, forgot to undo it again, I'm afraid. I got too excited about the phenomenal racing that we've got going on here at Zolder in the NEVO TCR Series, the final race of the season here on Chaz Draycott Media. Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box. And there's one more lap to go now, Ed. They're coming into the final chicane once more. And Will Redford has got a 1.2 second gap to enjoy while Nick Clibbens comes back under pressure from Martin Shirley once more.
Yep, I think Martin Shirley will be, even regardless of what happens, he's going to be very happy with how this race went out in terms of being able to fight up at the front against some very top-level drivers in TCR and keep them honest and probably be one of the favourites to win the whole thing if it wasn't for that little moment into the chicane between himself and Nick Clibbens. He'll hope to get one over on the driver that went up his rear end in towards that first chicane, but I think he's just too far back for now to properly benefit from any amount of slipstream that he's going to get. But, I mean, it has been a brilliant race, and you have to say that Will Redford is deserving the position he finds himself in on this final lap. It's took a lot of hard work and gritted teeth and white knuckles, but he's managed to get through it all and has just half a lap to go before he wins the race here tonight.
Gritted teeth and white knuckles just from us pair as well, having to watch and try and not blink and not cover our eyes every time there's a moment on the way into a chicane. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He's been the epitome of the excitement in this championship as well as Will Redford. A fantastic addition, and hopefully if there is another running of the championship, we get to see him again. And he's going to be over the moon to take a victory. I'm sure we'll have a chat with him afterwards. Martin Shirley's had one hell of a night, takes a win in the AM class in the first race, and he looks very well set to do it again here in this final one. But into the final chicane, the Jackie X-Bocked. Once more time, good English, Chaz. Will Redford onto the brakes, flicks it left, flicks it right, patient on the throttle, floors it, puts his foot through the bulkhead and wins at Zolder in the NEVO TCR Series. Klibbins is second, Shirley rounds out a hell of a campaign. Taya Flatten fourth, I think that's his lowest finish of the season. Nick Klibbins fastest lap of the race at the end. Eystein Herfjord, Ben Gregory, Ben Hicks, Hakon Ast next up. And Mark Redford takes second place in the AM class, and I think he might actually hop up a position in the championship as well. He's going to take second in the AM championship with that over Reese Watt, Andy and Manners. Jose Scully's going to drop down into fifth position. Mark Redford, very well done. Second in the AM class is a hell of a season. But Martin Shirley, your AM class champion. Will Redford, another race win for him. Epic, epic stuff, Ed.
It was, I mean, a brilliant race, wasn't it? From him all night as well. Let's not forget he has secured the AM Championship in the first race of the evening, and went on to have probably one of his best performances of the entire calendar here tonight in that final race. What a way to round out what has been a brilliant championship with some excellent racing up and down the field. I mean, we had a great little tussle at the start, wasn't it, between Ben Gregory and Martin Shirley in the first race, between Ben Gregory and Ben Hicks, who still actually had to fight out at the end of the race. Gregory ahead of Hicks in both occasions. What a race that was. Shame that Taya Flatten wasn't quite able to have the result that he wanted in the second race compared to the first, but still, brilliant races all around.
Epic entertainment, like we've said many a time, but at the end of the day, there's not enough superlatives anymore. Will Redford takes the win then, just under a second ahead of Nick Klibbins, with Martin Shirley rounding out the podium and winning the AM class. Taya Flatten finishes in fourth ahead of Eystein Herfjord and Ben Gregory. The top six separated by less than 10 seconds. Ben Hicks and Hakon Ast continued their battle all the way through the race, the two teammates at Ignium Motorsport. Mark Redford finishes ninth ahead of Sam Smith in 10th, who was one lap down by the end. Martin Kenyon was also one lap down. Ian Manners and Reese Watt did not finish the race. Now I'm flying through these because we need to do a good friend of ours a bit of a favour, to be honest, because Taya Flatten joins us in the commentary box, and he's told me that he's got to go pick somebody up from a train station very soon. So I wanted to have a quick word before we round things up. But Taya, I mean, a great season, a very entertaining night tonight, I'm sure. You must be not as happy as other rounds with that one, but I bet you enjoyed the battling, surely.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight was fun as always, and the second race I messed up myself, going off the track, getting 3 slowdowns, and yeah, but yeah, it's been a great season. Winning with 2 rounds left, couldn't ask for more.
And of course that took the pressure off as well coming into the last couple of race meetings. What was your sort of approach before tonight when you came here to Zolder?
I've been in Italy from Thursday to yesterday. So,
oh yeah, I remember you said actually, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't practice at all before this race. So I had an hour practice before the qualifying, and yeah, it was. I felt I was not well enough prepared, but it's fun as always.
And how was Italy, by the way? Did you enjoy yourself out there? Was it for work or pleasure?
Pleasure, for sure.
And was it? Well, I mean, it's a hell of a place to be. Whereabout in Italy were you?
North at Garda Lake.
Oh, lovely, lovely. I've been to Lake Garda myself, and it is an absolute gem of a place. There's so many beautiful places to go up there. And were you driving around the lake, or were you in the lake? What brought you up there?
The CRG factory, a go-kart chassis manufacturer, is close there, and I work with selling go-karts in Norway. So
oh right, nice.
Was at the factory one day and just enjoying Italy the rest of the weekend.
Beautiful stuff. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. And of course, thank you again for the immense entertainment this season and the incredible dominance that you've had. It's just been epic to watch. Is there anybody that you'd like to give a final shout out to for this season?
This time I want to start thanking Ignium, because this was my last race together with Ignium. I also would thank them for some couple of great years, and of course my family, girlfriend, mother, father, brothers, everybody, and yeah, you guys for the broadcasts. I'm looking forward to watching it back tomorrow, and Jakob for organizing a league for us to have fun in.
Tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for what you've done to the championship, and of course for entertaining us as well. And you are a very deserving champion. Best of luck in your future team as well, and hopefully you'll be back on our screens again soon. Cheers.
So, thank you.
Thank you. What a very deserving champion and a lovely bloke, Ed. Tell you flat, an absolute star, isn't he?
He is brilliant. He's been, well, the driver of the championship, hasn't he? Sealing up everything with 2 rounds to go. Just as a mark of how quick he's been, but he's also, like you heard there, just a lovely lad. Brilliant to have a quick chat to him. Is there any other drivers that we can bring in for a quick word? Chaz, I see you've brought in this man to have a word with.
Mark Redford joins us in the box. Mark, the second...
Hello, guys.
The second race started a little bit lively, with your own son ended up basically across the front of your car there, but it was certainly a tough evening, wasn't it, in the Civic? There was a lot of issues with curbs and the back end sliding around. What was it like from your point of view?
Yeah, I found it really hard in the chicanes and the slow corners. It just wasn't getting out the corner very well, but quite enjoyed the car in the fast corners. It's quite good there, so yeah, it swings and roundabouts, I guess. Some tracks it suits and some tracks it doesn't.
Yeah.
But pleased in the end. It's a shame Scullage wasn't here to defend second place. But yeah, overall, a good night for me. Although, yeah, lap 1 on both races was a bit hectic. I was completely out of control in the chicane on the first race.
Oh yeah, forgot about that actually. We were saying early on how you did not hit anybody there. Neither of us know.
No idea.
Honestly, I think you should start another career as a magician, because that was honestly the most unbelievable moment where, especially into a chicane like that, where people are all on the brakes, they're all going one way then the other, there's big curbs, you're in a big old beefy Civic, but somehow you didn't hit anything. It's amazing.
It's a miracle.
Absolutely. But I mean, the whole season's been very entertaining. There's been ups and downs, as there often is in motorsport, but touring car racing is very savage, isn't it? There's no respite at all anywhere, and anybody that gets anywhere near you knows that they can sort of lean on the car a little bit more in this category, don't they? So you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's kind of elbows out racing, isn't it? But it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed the season. The cars have been fun to drive, good to race with each other. Yeah, it's been good. I think I might come back for more.
Well, hopefully you do, Mark. And to be honest, it's been good to have you on our screens again. I remember first commentating on you in it was the Mine Turn Racing Sunday Night Trucks Championship, and since then, we keep crossing paths in different ways, and it's always good to see. So
yeah, actually, I think it was Vertex the first time.
Oh, it was.
You
yes,
commentated on me. Yeah.
It was. Yes. And then I remembered the name when I saw you in the trucks. Yeah. See, even you know it better than I do now, so I need to try and remember.
Well, I was so impressed with your commentary that I decided to ask you to come and do the trucks with us.
Too kind, mate. Well, again, Mark, pleasure to see you as always. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, a shout to you guys, of course, for doing the commentary and the broadcast. Always brilliant, so I'll enjoy watching that back later. Jakob for putting the league on. A shout to Will for coming and joining me on track, for a rare occasion that he joins me on track. That's been fun. And yeah, everyone who's been on track with me as well. It's been fun racing with you all.
Lovely stuff. Well, like I say, Mark, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for jumping in this season, and I look forward to commentating on you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Right, we're going to move quickly on here, Ed, but why don't you take it away with the man that didn't quite have the night that he would have wanted, but a podium in the first race was still a strong result for Eystein Herfjord.
Yeah, welcome to the Comms with Eystein. That has been, well, a topsy-turvy evening's worth of racing for you. But just talk us through what it's like to finally be done with a championship where you've had such great success and great fun.
Well, I mean, fun. Last race wasn't very fun. I think that was probably one of my worst showings ever in a league race, I think. But this race was. I kind of decided before the race that I shouldn't do stuff, basically, in race one, because Yeah, if I could just stay away from the slowdowns, then it should be alright. And the Audi seems to be quite good in the start. So if I just nail a good start and let Tidy and Will through, then should be able to bring it home P3. But in the second race, that was well, the rear never had grip, so I sort of just slid around there, got a 2-3 slowdowns. It was a messy race again, but luckily I didn't kill anyone, so you know.
Yeah, compared to the Red
Yeah.
Bull ring, I suppose
Oh,
this is
God.
a success for you. Yeah, I'm sorry to bring that up, but it's still been a brilliant championship from you as well to achieve third place amongst some very top level drivers. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely, and sort of rediscovered my love for TCR racing again, which is good. So yeah, I think I'm gonna drive more TCR going forward. Not just only the GT4, but jump in some TCR races as well. Because yeah, the racing is always good in TCR leagues.
Well, of course, with the GT4, are you going to be perhaps tuning in to the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 series that's coming up next week?
Well, now that's I've never heard of it. Firstly, so is that a new league then?
I believe Chaz can tell you about that because that's being broadcast here with myself and Chaz in the comms box beginning next week.
Oh, you don't want to do it. It's rubbish. No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
No, we have a GT4 championship that we ran with a load of very good friends from over in the Sim Racing Magazine community. A lot of them came over from the Porsche Club of Great Britain when lockdown started, and everybody got into sim racing. And yeah, it took off very well, and a lot of people sort of came along and thought, oh, GT4, I'll check that out and see what that's like. And now we've got, capacity grid. We've got over 40 entries. We've got 30 at a time on the circuit, but we've got a reserve list of 10 at the moment, and yeah, it's a good laugh. So if you do like your GT4 cars, I'd recommend you jump in. Even if you just get in for a couple of rounds at the end of the season, you'll get sort of first entry for the following season and so on. Because I'm sure it'll keep going for quite a while now. Because it's an interesting category.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to check that out then. I have the like the team league stuff in the GT4 as well. That soaks up a lot of the free time, but I have time for one league. That's what I've kind of figured out during the weekdays. So why not?
Fair enough. Well, we will hope to see you wherever you appear. Hopefully, we'll be able to commentate on you again in the future because you have given us some excellent races all throughout the season. I'm sure you'll be very pleased with yourself because we're definitely pleased with the racing that you've given us this season. That's always great. You're ever the showman, Stein. Great to have you there. Before we say goodbye to you, rounding out the season, is there anybody you'd like to shout out on the broadcast?
Well, I my old team sort of got swallowed up by an American team now, so I guess I have to thank them. They and the sponsors that's over there with Alpine Stars and GoPro and GSI, and then obviously my girlfriend who lets me sit in here. Like I said, it soaks up quite a bit of spare time, so she doesn't see me that often. I guess she's happy with that, to be honest. But yeah. And then of course my parents, they're always watching the races I do that's broadcasted, so hello to them. And also congrats to Terje for the championship win. It was, yeah, he won with like 110 points in the end, so I mean, we kind of knew it for a while. And lastly, you guys, obviously, like I've been saying every time I'm in here, that the broadcasts are always superb. So keep up the good work, boys.
Thank you very much, Justin. That's very, very kind words. And Chaz, that's again what we love to see is drivers, when they come up for the end of a championship, they've been hard fighting with all the drivers. They still have time to talk to and praise their fellow competitors, even if they've maybe banged doors with them in the past. It's all forgotten. It's all just a big, lovely community at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that's it. Everybody gets on. Everyone has a good time, and well, it's what it's all about. We're all here for the same reason. We want to be racing. We want to be sim racing. I said the same about motorsport itself, that we're not here to do this because it's a job, because we have to. We're here because we want to be, and it's our own time that we put into it and our own money, and it's just wonderful. It's a great community, and when you really get the chance to highlight it like we do with broadcasts like this and speak to people, you know, it just tells everybody else just how good it is. Now, based on the noise I've just had, I'm going to turn Ben Gregory down before we start speaking to him some more, because that was one of the loudest things I've ever heard in my entire existence. Ben Gregory, though, you've been coughing your guts up all night, you said, but you still did all right.
Yeah, I have. I'm honestly hoping I don't lose my voice again. Yeah, it did all right. I actually really don't like Zolder, so to be able to lead, any laps was nice. Like I was expecting to get swallowed up in about 3-4 laps anyway after the slowdown. So yeah, I just did what I could. I finished the season off.
Well,
really,
that's it, mate. I mean, it was what me and Ed were calling the last day of school. You know, it always is like this at the end of a season, where sometimes you do get these wacky results because people don't have much to think about anymore. You know, you just want to get the season over and done with, enjoy some great racing, and well, it was great entertainment. And we were, honestly, we shouldn't really admit it, but we were really rooting for you to win that one when you got to the front, and it was quite literally the moment we said it'll take a mistake from somebody to change it.
Yeah,
it happened.
Yeah, I hope Ed would be rooting me on. He's a teammate. He's supposed to. But yeah, it was nice to basically use what I know, and like I'm quite opportunistic. So like having that moment where the two guys go ahead, off a bit, and like, oh, there's a chance here. It was nice to show that off a bit, but yeah, I wasn't expecting to hold on to that for the rest of the race. It's quite a long one, so.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, again, you did a sterling job to be up there and lead it for as long as you did, Ben, so fair play to you, especially with not being well as well. We do have to shimmy on, I'm afraid, but is there anybody that you'd like to give a quick shout-out to before you go?
Yeah, cheers to you guys and Jakob for running the series. It's been really good fun. Hopefully, more stuff like this in the future. And cheers to my teammates who've been... when they've been able to drive and watch as well. It's been awesome.
Smashing stuff. Well, you've been very entertaining again this season, Ben, so we'll look forward to having you on our screens once more in the future, hopefully.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. We'll let Ben go and cough his guts up for the rest of the evening now, considering that he's not well. Someone that's not well but is Will is Will Redford. Well, you might be well, I hope you are. But we've just caught a sideways moment from you here, Will, and typically entertaining as ever. You were right up there throughout all of that. Talk us through your evening, mate, because you never have a dull moment.
No, well, I am well.
Good.
It was an interesting one. Obviously, the results were pretty good, but it was a bit messy here and there. I don't think the Honda was the car to be in today. I think my dad was saying it before, but we had no traction out the slow corners, and then from that it made it seem like we were slow on the straights because the Veloster was still pulling away from traction down the straights. So the only moves I could make were really like proper dive bombs, which is always fun. But yeah, it was some good racing.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we've seen quite a few very strong sends down the inside from you in the few race meetings that we've had you. We've sort of learned that that's almost a trademark of yours now, is to get people on the brakes, and this is the sort of circuit where it's a big challenge to do that, isn't it? Because every corner that you go into, it's quite tight, especially the chicanes and the hairpin, the Boulderberg box at the end of the lap. You really have to make sure you get it stopped and not run wide, so it's all about being very precise on the brake pedal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and what helps is the Honda is very good on the brakes. It's got a nice feel on the brakes as well, so it means that you can normally always stop it, but that sometimes involves hitting the other car, which, you know, it's all right sometimes, but as long as you don't give them a slowdown and you don't force them all the way off, you know, I think it's fair, as long as they stay on the track. But, you know, the Honda's good on the brakes. It's good to go up the inside. I think the brakes is where you can make up a lot of time and when you can make the most moves, and like you say, it's one of my favourite moves to make.
Well, it's certainly been entertaining watching you, Will, and hopefully we'll see it again in future on our screens. Are there any other plans that you've got sim racing wise over winter before your real world series kicks off again?
Yeah, I've actually got a few series I'll be taking part in. Again, back in the TCRs for the next gen TCR series. I'll be joining that. I'm doing the BRSCC Winter Esports Series in the MX-5, and I'm also jumping into the GT cars for the Apex Racing League, the GT3 Championship.
Smashing stuff. So a busy boy then, and in many cars as well. And what do you think's the... I mean, I know there's not really a specific secret to it, but how do you deal with jumping between all of the different cars in different categories? Because a lot of the time in a real World Series, obviously you'll just drive one car all year, and sometimes in club racing enter it in different championships, but it'll always be the same car. What's the main sort of thing that you have to adjust to in the sim going from category to category?
I think it depends on the car and it depends on the drive. If you've got a driver, I want to say myself, like I think I'm quite good at adapting to different cars. GT cars I struggle with, but that's because I barely drive them, so I'm going to use the GT3 League as a chance to learn them.
Yeah.
But it depends. It's hard to say because it's sort of the same question as when someone asks you what makes you quick. You don't know. It just sort of all comes naturally.
Yeah. That's fair enough. It's understandable. I mean, I don't get on with GT cars at all, but like I say to everyone, there's a reason I'm a commentator and not a driver. I mean, I probably couldn't fit in a GT3 car these days. I met Will Tregurtha a while ago at Brands, and he asked me to jump in the Nissan GTR, and I sat on the seat bolsters because I've got a fat ass. Anyway, we'll move on very quickly, Will, because we've got to wrap up the championship, unfortunately, and the broadcast. But is there anybody you'd like to give a quick thanks to while we've got you on our broadcast?
Yeah, big thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast, and big thanks to Nevo for hosting a fun league, and thanks for having me.
Lovely stuff. Well, thanks, Will. Always a pleasure, mate, and good luck with the rest of your sim racing ventures over winter.
Thanks, mate. Have a good night.
Cheers, you too. Well, there we go, Ed. And rather than it just be, oh no, another night is over, the whole championship's over, and it's all done with and finished, and it's sad.
Yeah, but we don't have to be sad for long because we do have action, like we say, coming to Chaz Draycott Media in a week's time. Obviously, championship that we're both very much looking forward to, the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge Season 2. One that I was taking part in last season as a driver, now in the comms box. I cannot wait to get underway. In fact, I think there's actually a practice session going underway right now, so
yes,
we might have to wrap up because I want to turn a few laps with the boys.
That's it. Runner-up come commentator, Ed May in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. I'm looking forward to that one, buddy. I'm sure we're going to have a real ball in the commentary box. As well as that, in the same week, we will go live with the very first round on the 1st of December with the Chaz Draycott Media Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. It was an idea that came about as a bit of fun, and all of a sudden we've got a maximum 36-car grid and plenty of people filling up the reserve list. So if you want to hear what sounds like an old-school V8 Formula 1 car and see Formula 1 speeds, then do tune in next Thursday for the CDM Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. More information on all of that is on chazdraycott.com. But for now, Taylor Flaherty, well, he's an amazingly dominant driver. He's won the championship. Martin Shirley wins the AM Championship, and we have a lot more entertainment here at Zolder in the final race meeting of the NEVO TCR Series here on Chaz Draycott Media. I've been Chaz Draycott with the wonderful Ed May alongside me in the commentary box. Thanks once again to Ed, and thank you to everyone for watching. We hope you've enjoyed your evening and hope you will continue to as well. But for now, we're going to bow out and we'll leave you to it. Good night, everyone.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car. Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.